Hello, ladies and gentlemen. So this is going to be my review for Alien Earth, the new TV series, which is on Hulu and, for those who still have cable, the FX channel. Um, and there will be spoilers in this video, just like the headline says, the title of the video says. In case you haven't watched it yet, maybe you're waiting to binge watch it in October or something, I don't know. But yeah, so when this was first announced, I think it was, or at least when I first heard about it, I think it was, I think back in the spring maybe? And I had kind of mixed feelings because on one hand, I love the Alien franchise. I've loved it ever since I was a kid. God, I even had a bunch of the toys. Like I had the old Kenner toys I had that were based off animals. I had the mantis, the rhino, the snake, the crab, the cougar, the panther, which was just a repaint of the cougar, and yeah, you get the idea. The boar was another one. That was one of my favorites. I had the queen alien, had some of the marines, but you get the idea. Anyway, so like I said, I was excited, but on the other hand, I was like, I don't know, because as much as I love the Alien franchise, I feel like it's one of those that's been kind of milked to death. Like, you have the Sigourney Weaver quadrilogy, then you have like the Promethean movies, you have the Alien versus Predator movies, which I know that I'm kind of, those might not count. Yeah, sometimes the video games connect with the movies and stuff, so you get the idea. It's like, I mean, when I think of other things, like, I never really got into the Fast and the Furious movies, but it's like, geez, how many of those are there now? Like 8 or 9? Or Toy Story is another good example. With Toy Story, it's like, the fourth movie was good, but the third was the perfect finale, and now they're making a fifth one. But you get the idea. Franchises have been milked to death. So I was like, well, I'll still give it a shot, and I absolutely loved it. The plot of the show, well, first off, there's a lot of story to this, to the show, well, the first season anyway, which, the thing of it is, I'm okay with that for certain things, like, when you have, like, more story than action. It depends on what it is, and if the story is compelling, so to speak. Like, take something like Jurassic Park, the first Jurassic Park movie. I remember watching that as a kid, and I'm like, Jesus, like, stop talking, where's the action, where's all the dinosaurs, and stuff, and then it's like, watching it years later as an adult, like, I remember seeing it for the 20th anniversary, back in 2013, because it came out in theaters for the 20th anniversary, or re-released in theaters, so, and I was like, but point being, when you watch it as an adult, it's like, okay, now it makes more sense, like, the story and everything, I understand, like, so with Alien Earth, like I said, there's a lot of story in it, but the plot is basically this: a ship carrying a bunch of alien species, including facehuggers, as well as what the hell do you call them? These other species that they kind of made up for the show. Like, there's these giant fly things. There's this eyeball with tentacles that basically latches onto other creatures, rips out their eyeball, and then places itself in the socket and takes possession of this creature's body. And this eyeball thing is highly intelligent, which you see throughout the story. And then these species are taken back to a facility so they can be studied, because that's always been the thing with aliens. Humans are stupid and they think they can control these things. But so another thing is this facility, because it's like a $1 billion company run by this like prodigy rich kid who, honestly, I could not stand this kid, like, because he's very annoying. Like, for one thing, he's very full of himself, and it's like, another thing is that he walks around without any shoes on, and then it's like he'll literally put his feet up on the table and stuff. It's like, dude, like, what was this character written by Quentin Tarantino or something? But anyway, this kid basically thinks like he's Peter Pan. You see a lot of references to that in the story, whether it be the Disney version of Peter Pan, which, like the cartoon or the dozens of live action versions, or the original story that it's based on, where, the whole thing with the Lost Boys, where so another thing this company does is they take kids who have like terminal illness, like cancer or whatever, and then they transfer their mind and consciousness into a synthetic body. Like, basically, it's like they have this girl who was probably like, 8 or 9 that had cancer, and then they transfer her into a synthetic body that is what she would have looked like at the age of 20, basically. And then they do it with like a handful of other kids. So this is where you have like all the different kind of stories coming in. You got like the people studying these different species and stuff, including the prodigy kid. The first synthetic girl who changes her name to Wendy, for the synthetic. Her original name was, what the heck was her original name? I think it was Marcy or something like that. But when she became the human, the synthetic, she changed her name to Wendy because Peter Pan. Some of the others, synthetics did the same thing, had like Peter Pan names, like Smee, for example. So she finds out that her brother from when she was human is still alive, and so she like kind of wants to find him, and then she does find him, and they have their kind of thing going on and stuff. Like, she remembers, like, remember that time at Christmas and yada yada yada, and it's like, oh my god, it is you, I thought you were dead, blah 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 blah. So you got the story with them going on. One of the other synthetic kids, he's like, wait, what makes her so special? Why can't I see my family? So then you got a story going on with him. And you get this other guy who you think is a synthetic, but then you find out he's actually a cyborg, like half human, half synthetic. His name is Marrow, or Morrow, something like that. So then you got the story with him going on. He's actually the one that starts working with the kid that's like, what about my family? Why can't I see my family? And those two start working together too. Because this Marrow, he says to him, he's like, I'll take you to see your family if you bring me a xenomorph specimen, or something like that. Point being, there's a lot of stories going on with this. And as for, like, the violence and graphicness and stuff, well, actually, before I get into that, like I said, I'm okay with this being all about story, because, honestly, I feel like that's kind of always been the thing with Alien movies. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, Aliens is my favorite in the franchise, and it has been since I was a kid, and still is. Hell, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. But, and that's the thing, I feel like ever since that movie, people expect Aliens to be more about action and stuff, but it's like, again, I love the action in Aliens, like from, what the hell is his name? Apone killing the chest burster with the flamethrower, and then the whole swarm of warrior aliens come in, like, and then you got this towards the end with Ripley fighting the Queen with the armored walker, crane walker loader, whatever. You got all the other scenes, like when they. You get the idea. This movie is full of action, and I love it. But I always felt like Alien movies were more about suspense, and then just like the occasional like graphic like violence and stuff like that. Which, like I see, you see plenty of that in the movie. I mean, in this, like it's, like I feel like it's always been more about suspense and story, which is what the story is. I mean, which the show is. Excuse me, the series, whatever. Because there is plenty of action in there too. Like there was a part with a couple of Marines and the girl's brother. What the hell is his name? I think it's Hermit. At least that's his last. We'll just call him Hermit. That's like his last name, they're like in this like old corridor. Well, not old, like damaged, whatever. Like a big, like a stairwell corridor type of thing. And then a xenomorph like lunges at him and starts chasing him down the hallway. It's like, Jesus. And then there was a part. It's actually, I think, the same one. A xenomorph kills a guy by taking its second mouth and lashing it onto this Marine's mouth, and like, you know, it like swings him around. Like basically, it's like, here's the guy, so it's like, and here's the Xenomorph's mouth. It basically goes like this. The Xenomorph's second mouth, it goes like this. And I was just like, you know, I was like, damn. And there's some things in it that have never really been done before, so to speak. Like, for one thing, naturally there's a part with a face hugger that attaches to someone, and it's like, you actually hear the like tube going down the guy's throat. It's like, oh. Another thing is, because like I said with these movies, people always want to study how the Xenomorphs, like, what the hell, lifespan works, so to speak, you know, from like the facehugger to the human to chestburster, etc. So they take it to a next level, and they actually take out one of Hermit's lungs, because, you know, he works for this company, so it's basically, he's like a property, you know, he's not a person, he's just, you know, their product, if you will. So they take his lung, well, one of his lungs, and they put it into a, like a test tube with, you know, wires and everything hooked up to it so they can, like, keep an, you know, to keep it functioning. Then they take a facehugger egg that hasn't been hatched yet. They cut it open, take the facehugger out while it's still alive, you know, pin it down and everything, cut it open, and take basically the Xenomorph embryo, and then put it into the test tube and then it like burrows into the lung. So then it eventually it bursts out of the lung, and you know, when it grows, it turns into the chest burst and it bursts out, because they find out that the synthetic girl Wendy, she can actually understand the Xenomorph's language, like, you know, they're like, or whatever, like and not only can she understand it, she can communicate with them. So they put this Xenomorph, this chestburster, into captivity so she can, like, talk to it and they can study it and everything. And it's funny, this Xenomorph, like, when it goes, you know how usually in the movies you see the Xenomorph, it's like the chestburster, and then you just see, like, the fully grown form? In this case, you see, like, kind of like a middle of the road type of thing where it's like, I don't know, like a teenager or something, like, you know, it's like almost like a baby Xenomorph. Not a chestburster, but like a small Xenomorph, and it's like, that's actually kind of adorable. But, where was I going with this? And, you know, so what happens is, over time, the synthetics start to realize, like, wait a minute, the humans, like these synthetics that were, you know, had their minds transferred, start to realize, like, wait a minute, these humans are just using us, like the prodigy kid, the rich kid, you know, he doesn't care about us, we're just his product. And he even admits that in the last episode. He's like, no, he's like, you're my product, I own you. And it reminds me of RoboCop, another one of my favorite movies of all time. So they start to rebel, and you know, Wendy actually, like, uses her, because, like I said, she can kind of speak their language, so she, like, talks to the aliens and has them, like, kill a bunch of Marines and stuff, which is really cool and very graphic and everything, very violent and whatnot. You know, so it all kind of, you know, they basically start to rebel, and then they kind of just, like, you know, kill a lot of the Marines and stuff, and then they just capture all the, like, head people in the company and imprison them, like, and just completely take over the facility, because it's all, like, on an island, basically, that's, like, you know, isolated, so to speak. And so, yeah, that's the thing, this whole thing is basically, like, its own independent story. It's not really connected to the movies or anything, but, like I said, this is kind of how Season 1 ends, where it's, like, the synthetics have taken over, and then, you know, maybe, like, Season 2 will, you know, obviously continue from that, and maybe we'll see, like Ripley come in there, or, what the hell's his name? Bishop, you know, not the synthetic one, obviously, but the human one from the third Alien movie, who, you know, said, like, I designed that android, or whatever. You know, who knows? Maybe we'll see that in the future. And I just hope they don't, like, drive this into the ground. Like, you know, 2 seasons, maybe 3, hell, maybe 4. Like, but anything, if it goes up to, like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, 10. That's like pushing it. Like, don't do too many seasons. But so far, I've really enjoyed the show, and maybe you guys will too. Unless if you've already seen it, let me know in the comments what you think about it. Or if you haven't seen it, maybe you will see it. And as always, thanks for watching.